Jennifer asked if they were done, which felt abrupt.
3 words. Are we done? That's what Jennifer Crumbley said just hours before her son opened fire in Oxford High School, killing 4 people and injuring 7 others. I'm Brian Buckmire, and we're looking at the crucial moments leading up to that tragic day in Oakland County, Michigan. Here's where it started. November 30th, 2021, school counselor Sean Hopkins was notified by the dean of students about a math worksheet owned by the shooter with, quote, concerning drawings and phrases. Hopkins initially thought the shooter might hurt himself, so he pulled him out of the class to ask him about it.
He told me initially that it was a video game, that he liked drawing video game characters, liked that area of entertainment, and that he wanted to go into video game design. So then I told him, okay, you can tell me that, but let's explain these words. Here you write the thoughts won't stop. Here you write harmless act. And here you write, I'm having to look at, I think it was like my life is useless or something like that, where he crossed it out.
This part that's highlighted right here?
Yeah, and I said, that doesn't sound like a video game to me.
So I take it then you didn't accept his explanation of the video game?
Not in totality, no, because I wanted to gain more context.
Not convinced the drawings were depicting a video game, Hopkins probed the shooter on other struggles he might have been dealing with.
Well, he mentioned that school's been tough during COVID, that a family member had passed recently, a family dog had died. He said a friend moved away, and as he was talking, I just kept hearing all these themes of sadness.
What was his demeanor like?
Appropriately sad. It matched what he was saying.
Okay.
And so at that point, I told him, okay, this is a lot that you've got going on, and I want to make sure that we get you help.
Despite Crumbley's struggles outside the classroom, the shooter assured him there was nothing to worry about.
Did you express to the student or his parents that you identified suicidal ideation?
Yes, I said that the student, when I asked the student if he had a plan, if he was a threat to himself or others, the student said, his words were something to the effect of, I can see why this looks bad, I'm not going to do anything. So I had all of this information, but the student was saying he wasn't going to be doing anything.
Following Hopkins' one-on-one meeting with the shooter, he ordered his parents to join them at the school.
My hope was that they were going to take him and either take him to get help or even just to take him to let's have a good day. Let's have a day where we just spend time with you, where we are with you.
Just take him out of school?
Yeah.
According to the school counselor, Jennifer and James Crumbley were aware of their son's struggles, but couldn't take him out of school because they had to return to work.
I told them that with getting help, I said I wanted to see movement on within 48 hours, and that I'd be following up.
If the shooting didn't occur, what was your plan?
I was going to meet with the student the next morning and see if they had conversations about it, if they had made some plans to move towards some sort of therapy.
And if that didn't occur, what were you going to do?
I was going to call Child Protective Services.
Hopkins later described how that meeting ended just hours before the shooter carried out his attack.
Tell us how the meeting ended.
Jennifer asked if they were done, which felt abrupt. And during that time, the student had also expressed interest. He wanted to go back to class. I asked Mr. Ejak if there was any, like from a discipline standpoint, is there anything you need to do? Is there any reason he can't go to class? And I was told no. So I wrote him a pass to return to his end of his 3rd hour.
And Jennifer asked, are we done here? Did James protest at all? So
No.
Tell us what happened as you wrote the student a pass.
I told the student that I cared about him and wanted him to know that.
Did either James or Jennifer say that to him?
No.
On cross-examination, the defense attorney confronted the school counselor about his assessment of the situation.
You knew that he had been to the gun range with his mom the weekend prior.
Yes.
You knew at a minimum that he had access to a firearm the weekend before because he went to the gun range.
I knew that he had been to a gun range and had used a firearm at a gun range, yes.
You did not ask him on November 30th of 2021 if he had access to a firearm.
I did not.
You had no reason to look into whether or not he had access to a firearm. Would you agree with that? Based on the information that you had?
It's easy to go in hindsight on a lot of things. Based on what my concerns were, I was concerned about student well-being.
And again, you said it's easy to go in hindsight. So we know what happened within a couple hours of this meeting.
Sure.
We all in this courtroom know what happened. It's easy for us to look back and say that different decisions could have been made, right?
I made the decisions I made based on the information I had
At the time.
at the time.
You don't have the benefit of hindsight at 10:40 or 10:50 a.m. on November 30th of 2021. Is that fair?
I had 90 minutes of information.
No one knew the shooter had a loaded firearm in his backpack, but the Oxford High School Dean of Students had an opportunity to look through it that morning. Here's what the defense attorney said on the stand about that and what he told them.
He said that you retrieved Mr. Crumbley's son's backpack from his classroom and brought it back to Mr. Hopkins' office.
That's correct.
You indicated this backpack was heavy?
Yes, such as every other student in the school.
And let me clarify, that day, you didn't say that today. That day, November 30th of 2021, you commented to a teacher that the backpack was heavy.
Yes, there was. I made a joke at how easily she picked it up, and then when she handed it off to me, my arm dropped down. So it was more of a joke at how strong she was compared to myself.
And if you recall, at the time, the students weren't using their lockers.
They were not using their
So
lockers.
it's fairly common for a student's backpack to be heavy.
That's correct.
You didn't look in the backpack?
I did not know.
You didn't, and I think you said you didn't have reason to look in the
I didn't
backpack.
have reasonable suspicion, no.
You didn't ask Mr. Crumbley's son to look at his backpack?
I did not know.
You did not ask Mr. Crumbley or his wife to look in the backpack?
I did not know.
You didn't look yourself or ask anyone else to look because you didn't feel that there was a reason to look in the backpack. Is that fair?
There was nothing from our conversation or from anything that we had heard so far that would indicate it was enough to reach to that level. Correct.
All right, back to Hopkins' testimony. The defense highlighted a crucial detail about that school meeting that wasn't mentioned during Jennifer Crumbley's trial earlier this year.
Mr. Crumbley's statement to my recollection was, you have your counselor, you have your journal, we talk.
Mr. Crumbley didn't say your journal, you know, the one that's in your backpack.
No.
He didn't say the one that you always keep with you.
No.
He didn't say a color.
No.
He didn't describe it at all.
No.
So, to your knowledge, based on that conversation, you can't say that Mr. Crumbley's son knew what his son's journal would look like if he had a journal. Based on that conversation.
I had no knowledge beyond that there was an existence of some sort of journal.
Following the shooter's individual meeting and family meeting, neither the counselor or dean of students felt like the shooter was a risk to himself or others. But the prosecution made sure to highlight everything school staff didn't know on the morning of the shooting.
Did James Crumbley tell you that November 30th wasn't the first time that his son asked for help?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that his son asked for help in April 2021?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that despite that, never once was an appointment with a medical health provider set up?
No.
Did James Crumbley ever tell you that as early as June of 2021, his son had obtained his own firearm?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that his son had been begging for a 9mm firearm?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that his son actually sent him a screenshot of a 9mm for sale a few weeks before the meeting?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that his son actually obtained a 9mm just 4 days before this meeting?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that the 9mm he obtained looked identical to the 9mm that he drew right here in this picture?
No.
Did James Crumbley tell you that he worked for DoorDash, he hadn't begun work that day, and he couldn't take his son home?
No.
Did he tell you that when his son was talking about his friend leaving, it was actually his only friend?
No.
So So you took what you learned from the defendant's son, you described those losses he felt as significant,
I did.
and that's without knowing all of that information?
Yes.
James Crumbley faces 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter as prosecutors argue that the shooting could have been prevented if he took his son's mental health struggle seriously. Keep in mind, the shooter's mother, Jennifer Crumbley, was convicted of the same charges last month. So as James Crumbley's trial comes to a close, a jury will have to determine if both parents will face the same fate. In the meantime, we'll keep you in the loop on this case out of Oakland County, Michigan. From gavel to gavel, you're watching Law and Crime.